Hello. How are you? What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm gonna wait a few minutes. Let me bring my mic a little closer. Um, Hi. I look sleepy. Ugh, not a good day. I'm wearing my old, old Brace for the Cure t-shirt from, can you see it? 2011. It's a long time ago. But I keep all of my pink ribbon breast cancer related t-shirts from everywhere. I keep them all, and I usually wear them around the house or sleeping in them. It's just my thing. Keeps me just, I don't know why I do it. It just keeps me grounded, I guess. I don't know. Um if you're here, say hi. If you're not, I guess you can't say hi then, huh? I have a wicked headache today. I'm just not doing well. But I promised myself I would start going live more regularly and um start giving you guys some good information on live so you can kind of understand a little bit more about how to deal with your emotions around your breast cancer diagnosis or diagnosis of somebody you love. Like, yeah, I just need to, I just feel a need to kind of help people out a little bit with what I've learned over the years. So, we're going to get into it. Hey, Michelle. Um, we're just going to get into it and talk a little bit about some grief and some stress. And then we're going to talk about what this whole new normal thing is about. Because it's not exactly what people seem to think it is or what you were going to expect it to be. So I'm going to try to be brief, but we all know I talk a lot, so I can't make no promises. I'm going to take these motion real quick because my head is killing me. And then we're going to get right. This is over the counter. It's nothing prescription. I don't want y'all to think I'm doing drugs on the TV. But yeah, I want to talk about grief. I want to talk about the grief that happens when someone you love or when you yourself have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And I specifically use the word grief because it is that. It's a mourning. And it took me a long time. It took me a long time to recognize that when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, that sadness didn't go away. It didn't go away. It didn't go away for years, actually. And I was talking to a friend one day, and they had just experienced a loss. And they were talking about their grief and their mourning, and it sounded the way I felt. I was seriously mourning my cancer diagnosis. I was sad, I was upset, I had sleep problems, I had, problems eating. I was just a mess for a good while. And the truth is that there's a lot, you lose a lot. You lose a lot when you're diagnosed with breast cancer. Give me 2 seconds. Man, I got a lot of pink going on today. I got my Coleman shirt, my Coleman water bottle, I got my Coleman bracelet on. I have to make sure not to do this much pink next time. But so like I was saying, when I was going through it, when I was diagnosed, I was upset and sad. I mean, in a period of from the moment I felt my first lump to the day of my diagnosis, which was about a 2-month period, about 60 days, I basically was told I would lose my fertility. I started freaking out about my relationship. I started freaking out about my job, my job security. I started freaking out about my money. I started freaking out about whether or not I was going to actually live a long life. I started freaking out about every dream I ever had not coming true. I just freaked out and was crazy in mourning. And when they told me that I would have to lose my breast, I really freaked out. It was just so much to deal with at one time. So we're going to get into my notes. I got a few pages of notes, but I'm going to try to keep this quick because, everybody ain't got time. So let's start. A cancer diagnosis can immediately launch you into a whole lot of negative feelings: fear, anxiety, depression, grief, overwhelm. That's absolutely normal. It happens to every single one of us. It doesn't matter when you're diagnosed. It doesn't matter what stage you're diagnosed. You're going to go through all of these feelings of fear and anxiety and depression and whatever. It's going to happen because it's such a huge change to who you are that it's just going to happen. Anxiety, we know what that is, right? But it's a fear. It's a fear of a loss. It's feeling uneasy about life. It's feeling worried about stuff, right? It affects the patient and the family and friends every day. So people who are diagnosed with cancer are often diagnosed with clinical depression and are also diagnosed often with PTSD. Your girl had both, but to be fair, I had both years before, but came back. But because it's a traumatic loss and it's a traumatic life change. And so you may have symptoms. You may find that people who are diagnosed have symptoms like nightmares or night terrors. I used to have horrible night terrors, like absolutely wake up in the middle of the night screaming night terrors. It was bad. Or their food, how they eat, or if they eat, may change. Weight loss, weight gain, insomnia. I still have insomnia, but that's just me. They may have a lot of stomach issues, nausea, always feeling queasy, never feeling hungry, that kind of thing. It's a lot that goes with it. Depression and cancer go together too. 25% of cancer patients are diagnosed often with depression as well. And so they may be dealing with not just the overwhelm of the new state that they're going into, but they're also dealing with the effects of depression on their lives. So they may sleep a little too much. They may not want to talk at all. They may hide out. They may stop doing things that they normally would do. Hey, Michelle, my sister-in-law is on here, y'all. Say hi to Michelle. And my sister, Angie, is on here. But so it's a lot that happens, like emotionally. The physical is one thing, but the emotional stuff is what we're talking about today. And so the problem is, it's just a lot of loss. It's fear. And the same way, if you're not the patient, you feel very afraid for your loved one or your friend. They feel that very intensely, and it's difficult for them to cope. So some of the things, like I mentioned before, some of the things that I grieved, I was very upset with my doctors for telling me that because of my cancer, I would have to lose my breast. Like when I those of you who have known me a long time know that I'm a little bit argumentative sometimes. Not always. I try not to be. But I literally was really determined to keep my breast. And I've told this story a lot of times, but my initial surgeon that I had chosen, she was a young surgeon. She was also a breast cancer survivor. She was a young Asian woman about my age. And I chose her because she was a young Asian woman about my age who had also gone through breast cancer. She was really sweet, really smart. And I felt like I could talk to her, plainly about the stuff I was going through and the stuff I was thinking about. And she called me one night because I'd left some hysterical messages, I think, on her voicemail about not wanting to lose my breast and how we needed to figure out some ways to do a lumpectomy. But since I'm not a surgeon, I didn't understand um, the parameters for doing an effective lumpectomy. And she called me back one night. She called me back to respond. I was at a bar and I had to step outside to take her call. And I'm literally outside a bar in DC, like having an argument with my surgeon about I don't want to lose my breast. And what she said to me that changed my mind and made me get my head wrapped around this. Now, at this point, I guess it was early August or maybe September. No, it was August because I hadn't started chemo yet. And so I was still not believing fully that I was going through all of this. And she said to me, she's like, I can do a lumpectomy. She's like, but what your breast will look like when it's over, you won't like it. And she immediately tapped into my personal vanity about how I wanted to look. Because in my mind, I kept thinking, I'm going to get back to who Nicole is if I can just hurry up and push this all the way through. Tiff is here, Moni's here. And so I'm arguing with my doctor in an alley in DC after, being in a bar after she returned my call because I was upset. And part of that was grief. And part of that was anxiety that I just didn't want things to change so much. And everything that the doctors was telling me was such massive change and I wasn't ready to deal with it. And she was understanding. She knew that. And she also knew how to talk to me as a young woman and say specifically to what, talk specifically to what was my concern. My concern was I want to still be cute when I'm done. I want to get back to being me. I want this to be a blip on the radar screen of my life. I don't want cancer to define me. I want to say, okay, I had breast cancer. We're going to do what we got to do. We're going to get through this and go on. And she immediately checked that. And it's like, look, things are different now. You've got to make different choices because your life is not the same anymore. And that's part of the grief. That's part of the process. And when you're loving someone and when you're friends with someone who has been diagnosed with breast cancer or any cancer, you have to acknowledge you, the co-survivor, the friend, the family member, you have to acknowledge with yourself that their life is not going to be the same. They're not going to be the same. What happens to a lot of us survivors, I've experienced, is that it's such a frightening thing to hear that your friend or loved one has cancer, that our immediate reaction is they're going to be okay. They're going to be all right. They're going to be the same. It's going to be over and we're going to get back. That's how I felt. That's how my friends and family dealt with me. That's how we all embraced it. She's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. She's young. She's strong. It'll be okay. And the truth is that's true. I am okay. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes people aren't okay. But what really is true is that I'm not the same. Like you literally don't understand until that moment when someone says on the phone or in person, we looked at your pathology, we looked at the biopsy results, because it's always a biopsy. We looked at your biopsy results. The pathology report says this is cancer. You have cancer. Nothing is the same after that because now you got to look at your life in a different way. And now you got to look at how you look at your life in a different way. And that's part of the process. I have a friend, a Facebook friend, who lost her husband a couple of months ago. It was a sudden death. It was unexpected. They'd been married almost 20 years. They loved each other. Like, in fact, they have a whole business around dating my spouse. Like their love was their business. And their marriage was like just wonderful. Not saying perfect, but wonderful. And she's grieving. She's grieving really, really, really bad, which is to be expected. She lost her life partner. And I find myself when I see her posts and her comments and I'm reliving my grief. Now, my loss was completely different from hers. Absolutely completely different. But I identify with her feelings of losing her spouse. It's so much confusion. It's so much darkness. It's so much fear. And as friends and loved ones, we have to allow that person the room to feel all of those feelings, to be sad, to be angry, to be upset, to be confused. Help where you can, but don't try to take over, and don't try to minimize what they're going through. And that happens a lot to us as survivors. People try to minimize it. Oh, girl, it's not that, my friend, my coworker, my so-and-so had cancer and they're fine. No. I mean, I'm happy that they're great, but you don't know what my diagnosis is. And you don't know if I'm going to be great, because I don't know that I'm going to be great. And my doctors don't know that I'm going to be great. They can do everything they possibly could do, and I'm not here a year from now. You've got to take it one day at a time. So the next lesson I want to talk about is how looking fine and feeling okay aren't the same thing. When I was diagnosed and I was going through chemo, I'm kind of vain. So I refused to take steroids. Dre Jewel is here. I refused to take steroids. That was one of the things my doctor wanted to put me on. It would have helped me with my strength. It would have helped me with my appetite. It would have helped me in a lot of different ways. But I also know that steroids can make you blow up. And I was already chunky. And I just didn't want to get bigger. So I refused the steroids. In hindsight, I probably should have taken the steroids because my cancer treatment was super hard, and it probably would have been less hard if I'd taken them, but I didn't. But because I didn't take the steroids, my appetite was a mess and I didn't eat that well. And so the chemo was really hard, and I lost a lot of weight. All of that to say, I lost a lot of weight. And so I, people would see me. I was bald. I didn't have my eyebrow. Well, I had a little bit of eyebrows. My eyelashes were gone. My skin color was different. My hands had gotten a really dark color because your body goes through different colorings, and it's a mess. Chemo is a mess. And when I looked in the mirror, I looked crazy. I looked like a sick girl. I looked to myself like I was going through what I was going through. But people would see me and say, girl, you look good. Not hardly, but okay. But part of it was that because I was already thick, when I lost the weight, I didn't look emaciated, how people expect a cancer patient to look. And some cancer patients actually gain weight, usually because of steroids. So someone can be going through the worst time of their life, but look okay. They stop and they put on their face before they go. They put on their fake lashes and they draw on their eyebrows or whatever it is that they need to do to walk out of the house. They look okay. They may not feel okay. They may not feel okay physically. They may not feel okay emotionally. And if you say to them, you look good, they may take the compliment, but it's a hard thing that they're struggling with, that how they present is not how they feel. Sometimes as a cancer patient, I've had to tell people that I was sick in situations that I didn't appreciate having to tell someone I was sick. Like if someone was driving me somewhere and they used a handicap spot, and people would give you this stink face like, y'all not handicapped. And then you have to say to someone, I have cancer. Or just all kinds of things like that. I call it using a cancer card, but it's not always a good thing. Like having to tell someone something that personal and that intimate is hard, but it's a part of the process as well. It's a part of the grief that you feel, that you have to constantly explain your life, that you constantly have to be reminded that this monster is in your world. It's a lot. Cancer brings a lot. So let's talk about how to support your friend or your loved one if they have cancer. And these are easy, and y'all know this, but I'm going to say them just to make sure you're clear. Check in with your friend. Call. They may not be accepting calls, but call and leave a nice message. Send them a text. They may not respond. send a nice text, say, hey, I'm thinking about you, friend. I saw this, whatever, and it was funny and it made me think about you. So, whatever. Contact your friend, email, drop by. The drop by is a touchy piece now. If you're not real close and all of that, don't get your feelings hurt. Because if you know me, don't stop by my house unannounced. You will be standing outside. I'm just saying, I don't really get down with that. But some people do. Some people are very open and they don't mind people dropping by their house, and it's cute. It ain't cute for me, but it's cute. So, proceed accordingly. But the bottom line is checking on your friend. And don't take it personally if they don't reach back or respond back, because they may not be in a place. You may catch them in a moment when they're in a dark space and they can't talk to you. And let me explain a part of that not talking back piece. When I had cancer, I had a boyfriend. He is no longer my boyfriend nor my friend. I don't talk to that man in any way. In fact, in every way I could possibly block him out of my life, I've done so. Let's be clear. He's not my boyfriend anymore. He's not my friend. But at the time, I had a dude, and one of his beefs with me during my cancer treatment was that I changed. He felt like I was unresponsive. He felt that I didn't talk to him. He felt like I was shutting him out. Maybe I did. I will not even say I didn't. I will say that I feel like he was a punk for that, but whatever. But hey, Cedric. But the bottom line is he felt in my sickness that I was ignoring him. That was how he felt. He didn't tell me that, but that was ultimately how he felt. Which again, I'm going to just say it's a whole crock of bullshit, but whatever. That's how he felt. So let me explain that to you. One is the pain, the feeling, the scaredness, the anxiety, the depression, the grief, all of that I just talked about before. That's always going on. That's a nonstop conversation in your head from the day you're diagnosed. I might die, or I might not be able to reach my dreams, or I might not never have a family that I want, or I might never have these babies, or who's going to take care of my baby, whatever. That's an ongoing conversation in your head. It doesn't stop. The second part of that pullback piece is that people who love and people who care for people who have cancer very often make cancer about them. And I'm going to say that twice. People make someone else's cancer diagnosis about them and not the patient. And that puts the patient in the position where they're constantly propping you up, where they spend a whole lot of their energy propping you up, making you feel better about how they are dealing with their cancer. And sometimes you just ain't got that goddamn energy. Like, you can tell a friend, someone hears that, oh my God, Nick has cancer. I don't have cancer anymore. Let me just clear. This is an example. I want nobody to take that and run. I don't have cancer. Someone hears that Nick was diagnosed with cancer and they reach out to me. That's a wonderful step, because you should do that. You should reach out to your friends. But the conversation becomes how afraid they are, how scared they are, how upset they are. So I'm a friend, right? My friend is upset, right? Even though I'm the one with the cancer, I end up spending our conversation making them feel better about how I'm dealing physically. Y'all, that's wrong. And we all do it, and we don't mean to. But that's part of the pullback. That's part of the quiet. That's part of why cancer patients very often don't talk to you and you don't know what's going on, because we don't always have the energy to make you feel better about our fears, about what's going on in our body. So my advice for everybody is give cancer patients some slack, but even more, it's Recognize that if they don't reach back, if they don't talk back to you, if they don't respond to your text, keep reaching out. They're looking, they're seeing, they're hearing. They just aren't, they don't have that much strength in the moment. And it is what it is. It gets better when it gets better, but it is what it is. And sometimes you just don't feel it. So a lot of times cancer patients find themselves in a struggle piece, and they don't want to overwhelm people with all of the stuff that's overwhelming them. So they end up either not having any conversations, or they find other cancer patients, survivors to talk to, people who get a lot of it without a lot of explanation. And that's not a personal dig. That's not saying that you're not capable. It's just saying that it's hard to talk to you as a non-cancer patient about all of the things that's going on, because it's so overwhelming. So don't take it personal, is my point. Don't take it personal if they pull back, they're not as responsive, they don't want to hang out. There's a lot of the physical stuff that goes with it. You're tired, you don't feel cute, you don't feel the same, your clothes don't fit, whatever. And then there's the emotional part of, I don't have the energy to support that many people in a public place, or I don't have the energy to support my friends or family right now because my doctor just told me something devastating and I need to process it for a while. And that processing often requires a little silence. That's all it is. It's not a dig. If I were to talk to my ex, which again, I don't talk to that dude at all, but if I were to, I would say to him, it was not about you. It wasn't about you. It was me learning to deal with all of this stuff, that every time I went to another appointment, I had to learn all of this horrible stuff about myself. But we don't talk about that dude no more. The second thing, so the first thing you do to support your friend, check in on them. Don't be offended if they don't check back or if they don't respond. They're dealing. Just check in anyway. They'll appreciate it. I promise you. They appreciate the check-ins. When you talk to them, if you can get them out, or if you can get in to see them, or if you can get them on the phone, ask them how they're doing today. Not in general, not a long term. Don't ask for their don't ask for their treatment plan, immediately, or if that's even your business. But how are you doing today? Because today may not be like yesterday. This minute may not be like an hour ago. How are you feeling right now? And is there anything I can do right now to help you feel better? It might be a joke. It might be, let's talk about this latest J. Cole album, which is fire if you haven't heard it. I'm just saying. All of that. Keep conversations normal as possible. That helps. That helps take their mind off of things. Make no assumptions about anything. Don't assume that because you talked to them on Tuesday and they were happy, that if you talk to them on Friday, they're going to be happy. They may not be. You may catch them Friday in the middle of a crying spell. They may have been sad on Wednesday and ready to go to the club on Thursday. Like, just don't make assumptions. Just ask. You got to ask, because moment by moment, everything changes. Except that they're grieving. They're feeling a lot of loss. And it's a real thing. It's not a just in their mind thing. It's a real thing. And this healing process, here's what I'm realizing, it takes a lifetime. I'm 10 years out. Well, almost. I got another week to hit my 10-year anniversary. I still cry. I still cry when someone calls me and tells me that someone I know or someone they know has been diagnosed. I cry every single time. I cry every single time. I get nervous when I have to go to the doctor every single time. I still wake up if I have a weird pain. I'm still scared every single time. Like, I'm still dealing with the emotional stuff. It's easier 10 years later than it was 10 years ago, but it's not by any means over. It's just not over. It's just now part of me, and I manage it a little better. Recognize that the survivor patient is dealing with multiple layers of things. multiple layers of grief. For a lot of us, so when I was diagnosed, unmarried, still unmarried, got a ring though, but still unmarried, no kids, and I had a career that I was kind of getting tired of, but I did enjoy it. You feel like, am I going to be able to do these things? Like, my dream was to have babies and have a husband. Cancer was like, yeah, not so much. You might get a husband, but you ain't getting no babies. My career was different. My mindset was different. So I couldn't look at the job the same. The stuff that I would have easily swallowed back before, I was just like, people down the street at that hospital, they're dying right now. This stuff we doing right here, I'm not feeling it. That was me. And that's not everyone, but that was how I looked at life. And I just couldn't look at it the same. You lose a lot, and it's real stuff. So, how survivors can help themselves. And we have to do all the work. Let me be clear. You gotta be honest with yourself about how you feel, what you're going through, what's happening, etc. But you have to make the effort to change for yourself. So I recommend all the time survivors find a good therapist or a good counselor or a good support group. It can be an online group of survivors. It can be an in-person group at your cancer center. But talking to other people who have gone through or are going through what you're going through is extremely helpful. It helps you to not feel so isolated. It helps you to not feel so alone. Hey, Taya. Hey, V. It helps you to feel like you're not the only person dealing with this thing. Because in your family circle, in your friend circle, you're probably the only person dealing with it. And the people around you may not be able to understand all the details, and you don't want to freak them out with all of your worries. But if you join a support group, it can be on Facebook, it can be it can be as little as a Twitter chat. There's a great breast cancer Twitter chat every Monday night, #BCSM, breast cancer social media, BCSM, Monday night at 9:00 Eastern. It is such a great help to just talk to people who understand what you're going through, that you're not by yourself. And finding people who understand what you're going through. Grief is different for everybody, but understanding that there are people out there who've been where you've been, or are where you are currently, and they understand your fears and concerns helps. I just can't even overstress that. It helps a lot. Create I call it my Getting Back to Me toolkit. And I need to write a blog post about this because I don't think I've ever really talked to anybody about what's in my Getting Back to Nicole toolkit. But it's a bunch of different things. So it's stuff like a book that can help you deal with your emotions. One of my favorite books, and actually I got it right here, and it's a dingy copy, so don't laugh at me. But this book, Picking Up the Pieces, I highly, 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 I cannot overstate this. I highly, 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 highly recommend this book. It's been a godsend for me over the years. Seriously. Actually, let me drop a link to it in the chat in case anybody's interested. But it's an amazing book that helps. And so whatever your book is, your book might be your Bible, your book might be your Quran, depending on what your religious preference is. Some book that helps you to understand and identify with what you're going through, what you're dealing with, and then how you can move forward. So that's one of the first things that's in my Getting Back to Nick toolkit. One of the other things that's in the title of it, let me make sure I give you the right title, is Picking Up the Pieces, Moving Forward After Surviving Cancer. I highly recommend it. So another thing in my toolkit, I guess I should have brought the toolkit. Index cards, literally index cards. And what you're going to use the index cards for is affirmations or self-talk, thoughts that will help you to, keep it straight in your head that this isn't your whole life. This is a time. So I personally have a spreadsheet that has about 500 different affirmations. It's excessive, I know, but sometimes I am excessive. If you know me, you know that. And hey, Daisy. Hey, Jen. Marcus is here. But I use those, my index cards and my spreadsheet to write down a different affirmation. And I don't do it every day. I used to do it every day, and I would have like 5 or 10 that I would go through, and I would think about them, and I would tell myself, you are beautiful. And sometimes I'd have to say it about 10 times before it kind of felt realistic, because when I looked in the mirror, I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel like Nicole. I didn't feel pretty. Or cancer doesn't define me. Whatever. You make up your own affirmations. It doesn't matter. But you need that in your toolkit of getting back to who you are. A container to hold everything in. I'm into cute stuff, so I don't have a container that's cute enough to show you, but I do recommend like a box or a file or whatever. You're going to need a journal. I have a bunch. I got about 6 or so, because I'm a little obsessive about what I'm obsessive about. But journaling helps. Talking, writing down your thoughts helps. If you're not into pen and paper, you can use the note app on your phone, or keep a running document on Word or whatever works for you to get your little thoughts out. But a journal helps. You can write down all the bad stuff you're thinking about, and then turn the page and then write down a whole bunch of good stuff. And some days the good stuff is going to be harder than the bad stuff. I have a personal rule that I do each day. I call it my G3 moment. My G3 moment is either when I first wake up, which, let me be real, I hardly ever do it anymore when I first wake up, because I just ain't consistent about stuff like that. But when I'm feeling like I'm going down, I'm getting depressed, I'm not in my right frame of mind, I call to myself, you need a G3 moment. And a G3 moment is, real quick, 3 things you're grateful for. Ain't got to be big stuff. It ain't got to be anything lofty. I'm grateful that I live in the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave. Although, we're not going to get political, but it can be as simple as, I'm grateful that I picked out this pink polish because it looks real cute on my toes. Seriously, that can help shift your mood. And that's what this Getting Back to You toolkit is for, is to help you reset your clock, reset your feelings, to change. And some of it is active work, and some of it is mental work. Music, a playlist, a favorite CD. Do people still use CDs? I don't think they do, but I'm a streamer. I stream everything. Me and Spotify are bae. But a good playlist of music that makes you happy, makes you feel good about life. My playlist of get happy music is like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole and some old school Heavy D, and some Eve and some Queen Latifah. It puts me in a good place. It gets me excited. It makes me want to move, which is good, because you need to move. Exercise every day. I don't do this, but when I do it, it's good. It does help. I'm tired. That's another conversation, though, because fatigue is real. Meditation or yoga or dedicated prayer time. Any of those or all of those or any combination of those is super, super helpful. I don't do yoga. I keep wanting to start. I got a little yoga mat. I I'm stiff and old now. I just don't move like I feel like I should, but yoga is good. Meditation is extremely helpful. It helps to quiet your mind. It helps to remove some of those bad thoughts. It helps to get you in a better place. Prayer time. If you pray, I'm not telling you you have to pray. I'm not telling you you have to be Christian. I'm not telling you anything. I'm just saying that if that's who you are and that's what you're about, it helps. It does. What else is in my toolkit? Daily routines. I'm inconsistent. I don't wake up at the same time. I don't go to bed at the same time. But I do have regular routines. Like I have a face wash routine that I do twice a day. I have a stretch routine that I do once a day. I have routines. And as weird as it is, I had to learn to write them down to make myself accept that they were important to me feeling better. When I didn't write, I don't have to write them down every day, but just the process of me writing it down and saying that this is my process for made it a real thing and not just this random thing I was doing in my room when I was bored. And it also helped me be real clear that this was something I was doing for me to make me feel better. It looks weird to see me doing my arm stretches, which is why nobody ever sees me do them, but it helps. And I can tell when I've skipped because my arm will start to act funny or feel heavy, that sort of thing. You need one index card that says, what can I do for me right now? And what can I do for me right now is really jarring. It shifts you because most of us run around the world thinking of what we're doing for other people, our family, our friends, our job, our businesses, whatever. We do everything for everybody else. And when you have a card that's already written, that stays written, that's always in your box, what can I do for me right now? It makes you stop and go, oh yeah, I'm important too. What can I do for me in this moment to help me change stuff around? Oh, I'm talking too long. I didn't mean to be on here this long. Hey, Rob. Hey, Robin. Exercise daily. Self-talk. Be your own coach. You can hire a coach. You can go to a counselor. You can go to a therapist. I highly recommend that. But you also have to be your own coach. Daily affirmations, positive self-talk. When something, check your local YMCA here in Michigan, cancer support. Exactly, Daisy. Yes. And that's a good idea. I've never gone to the Y, but it's good to know that they have support groups for cancer. My hospital had cancer support groups they had one general cancer support group once a month, and then different days within the month, they would have specific cancer support groups. And for a lot of people, it was really, really, really helpful. Hey, D, I love you too, sis. It was really helpful. It's great to talk to people who get it because I'm in a few, there are a lot of breast cancer groups on Facebook. I have a breast cancer group on Facebook too. It's really tiny. And I'll be honest, we don't talk a lot. We should, but we don't talk a lot. But I'm in some really big ones where there's thousands and thousands of survivors. And it's good to see and good to help other people when they have questions, because sadly, every day someone joins one of these groups who's just been diagnosed. And even if you're only 3 months in and you're thinking, what can I tell somebody? You're 3 months in, you're 3 months ahead of that woman that just found out on Monday, right? So her questions may be, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm scared. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel right now. And you can say, you know what? I get it, because this is how I felt 3 months ago, or this is how I felt 6 months ago. I stay in those groups because now I'm a veteran. I'm 10 years out, 9 years out. I ain't claiming that 10 till the 30th. I'm 9 years out. And sometimes people need to know that there are people who are living and functioning and doing it in this world years after their diagnosis. Because a lot of times once you get through it and once you get to a place of a bit of a calm, you put it behind you. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's not your thing, then it doesn't have to be. For me, I feel a calling to continue to reach back and continue to talk to people and continue to tell them, look, it's scary. You can get through it. I was dating a loser and, now I got a winner. So, because people need to know that. I've answered a whole lot of questions about what is dating like after breast cancer. Whew. It's real. So joining a space where there's people like you is helpful. And when you're comfortable enough, having a real conversation with the people you love to answer their questions as best you can is a good thing too. But don't do it a lot because it's stressful, because these are people who love you, and you're as concerned for their feelings as they're concerned for yours. And so it's a little more emotional to do, but definitely, if you can, that kind of a conversation is helpful. So be your own coach. And my final advice, oh, nope, not final, because I got another page. Ooh, I was writing a lot. Breathing exercises. My therapist taught me breathing exercises when I was going through therapy before breast cancer. And hey, Missy, so there's a exercise called the triangle exercise. You draw a triangle, you write an I on one line, a E on another line, and a P on the third. The I is for inhale, the E is for exhale, the P is for pause. So you literally go around the triangle until you feel better. So you inhale and you hold it. You say it to yourself. You inhale for as long as it takes you to say in your head, inhale. You exhale for as long as it takes you to say the word exhale in your head. And then you pause until you can't. And then you do it around. And it's a simple technique, and you won't forget it because it's a triangle, IEP, and it's inhale, exhale, pause, inhale, exhale, pause. And you do that a few times and it calms you. Like, it immediately pulls you down if you're freaking out, which I tend to do sometimes. Okay. So the other thing is I got hot flashes, and so I just had to turn on that fan because the heat. You need to change your story. Before breast cancer, I can't remember what my story was. Something like the party girl who's always ready to move, which I realized later in life that calling myself a party girl was not quite the right thing to say, because people thought that I meant by party girl that I was doing drugs and all into wild stuff, which I wasn't. I was literally meaning I like to be out and I like to be around good music and happy people and I like to dance. But, different strokes. I was thinking party, like literally party. People were thinking party, like let's do drugs and get high and be weird. And I was like, yeah, I don't do drugs. I don't smoke weed. But, everybody got their thing. That wasn't mine. My thing was music, people, fun, drinks. But change your story. So breast cancer changed me. Breast cancer changes most of us. Any type of cancer changes you. You've got to change your story. So you can't stay in a weepy place of, oh my God, I'm so sick, I'm gonna die. Because that was me for like a year. Like, I was literally the weepiest. I ain't never cried in my whole life as much as I cried that first year of my diagnosis. But you got to change your story. At some point, you have to decide, okay, I'm going to be different. This is going to be different. I'm changing my tune. I'm changing my story. I'm changing how I look at this. So now I am the sassy breast cancer survivor who will tell you all the real stuff and all your thank you, Rob. You got to change your story. I used to be the party girl, and now I'm the sassy survivor. And I will answer the questions that people don't like to ask because it's invasive, really. But I've answered questions for people about sex, about dating, about work, because work stuff is real. But I don't usually do those on camera because but I'll have a conversation with you one-on-one or in a small private group about, and we can talk about sex, and we can talk about, your body changes. Because let me tell y'all something. Let me be the one to let you know. Breast cancer changes everything. I know survivors. Hey, Michelle. I've talked to survivors who have said and I've talked to them in many places, on message boards, breast cancer message boards, on Twitter, in different Facebook groups, in person. Like, I've talked to a lot of women who have this issue. And then I'm gonna get off of this. Breast cancer treatment can mess up how your vagina works. Look, I'm here to let you know this thing ain't a game. You got to be for real ready for the real world. And I'm that girl. I'm going to tell you the real. I just ain't always going to do it on camera. I mean, I can't. Because, of course, all kind of spam bots to be following you if I was like, I'm going to talk about your vagina today. But I'm just saying, if you want to have that conversation, send me a note and we can chit chat. And I won't even charge you. First time. Second time, I got to charge you because life. But anyway, change your story from, oh my God, this happened to me and my life is over, because that was me. And I had to change my story to, oh my God, this happened to me, my life is different. And then, figure out what you want your life to be different. How? Because we're told, I heard this a million times, oh, it's a new normal. You're going to be in a new normal. I've told people, oh, it's a new normal. That's some crap. It isn't, but it is. The reality is your life just ain't the same. And it does become normal. And it is a different normal, which is not to say it's a better or a worse. It's just different. So technically, yes, a new normal is real. But new normal makes it feel like you are going to wake up one day and everything is going to be fine. No, you got to work at it. You got to work at it daily. You got to motivate yourself daily. You got to affirm yourself daily. You got to exercise daily. You got to do your stretches daily. You got to do whatever it is that you got to do. You got to meditate, pray. You got to do all of that. Your breathing exercises, because the grief will come up on you suddenly and you'll be freaked out and you got to calm it down. Or you're going around life and somebody makes a comment about, why didn't you ever have kids? And that sends you into a spiral. You may have an automatic response in that moment, but later that night you might be crying because you're upset because you didn't have kids. This is a true story for Nicole, let me just say. Every time people got jokes about women that don't have kids, I may not say nothing in that moment, but I can pretty much guarantee you I'm going to cry later. But then I have to tell myself that I have a new story. I got a new life. It wasn't the one that I thought I was going to have. I've got a new story. I've got a new life, and it's okay. Change your story. Survivors have to stop entertaining horror stories from other people. Nothing will get me fired up more than someone saying to a survivor, my friend, cousin, auntie, neighbor down the block, ex-boyfriend's sister-in-law's cousin died after her died. Nothing burns me up more than that. I don't mean to be completely disrespectful, but I'm about to be really disrespectful. I don't give a foot. My auntie say foot. I would normally say the F-bomb, but I'm going to try to be nice. But I don't give a care about who in your life died when I tell you my diagnosis. And that's not to say that I don't care about your loss. That's to say, now ain't the time for us to discuss your death in your friends or family circle when I'm trying to tell you something that's devastating to me and that I'm afraid may kill me. I don't want to hear that you knew somebody that died. I don't entertain horror stories from people about nothing. If I don't want to hear it, I walk out the room. I turn away. I put on some headphones. I'm not doing this with y'all. Y'all aren't going to bring me down. I'm not doing it. And I tell any survivor the same. Don't do it. Don't Don't let people wear you down with their weight of their baggage from whatever. Now, if they want to have a legit conversation about someone who passed in their life and how hard it was and what they did to help and what they wish they had done, that's different. But when their offer of support is to tell you they knew somebody who died, shut it down. Move away. Tell them, yeah, I'm sorry, we're not talking about this today. And keep it moving, because it doesn't help you. It just ends up becoming an earworm that goes over and over and over in your head. Screw that. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. And actually, that goes for life in general, but definitely when it's dealing with cancer. We're not doing that. I don't give people horror stories about my lymphedema. Why? It doesn't help them. I point them to resources. I point them to bloggers, or which really aren't a lot, or websites, or people on whatever. I will point them to resources that they can find out information. And if they want to ask me specifically about my issues with my lymphedema, I'm happy to answer those questions. But I'm not going to run around and make people afraid more than they need to be about anything. This thing is frightening enough. I'm not doing it to anybody, and I don't let it happen to me. No negative self-talk. We don't talk bad about ourselves. My body is lumpy and bumpy in all the wrong places. I don't care. You can't tell me I'm not sexy. Well, most of the time. Sometimes I get a little, but most of the time you can't tell me I'm not sexy. Even when I look in the mirror and I'm mad that I'm a little extra thick, which is mostly every day, I don't do negative self-talk. And when I do get into that spiral of negative self-talk, because again, I'm human and sometimes I do something I call the mirror exercise. And I wrote about it in my ebook, Reclaiming Your Fab. But I just stand in the mirror, butt naked, in the bathroom by myself, or maybe in my bedroom by myself. And I literally, from head to toe, say something about myself that I like. Or I stand there silently and just look. And sometimes that takes a while, because you have to be able to hold your own gaze at yourself for 30 seconds. 30 seconds is a long time. When I first was amputated, and that's what I called my mastectomy, was an amputation. When I first lost my breast, I could not look at myself below here. I would look at myself in my mirror over my sink and on my dresser. I would not get in front of a full-length mirror unless I was clothed. I got out of the shower and pretty much closed my eyes until I had the towel wrapped around me. Like, it was serious. I was scared to look at myself. So the mirror test, the mirror check is a good way to move beyond negative self-talk. You have to force yourself to embrace who you are and find things to love about yourself. Counseling and support groups, we talked about that several times. Get on Twitter, get on in a Facebook group, just search for breast cancer and a bunch of groups will jump up. If you want to join my group, let me know. It's not hard. We don't talk much, but if you want to talk every day, we can do that. But get with other people. This is things that survivors can do. Journal. I believe in a journal. I have my I Carry Everywhere journal. It's Alice in Wonderland. I love Alice in Wonderland. I have my big journal. Like, I got a bunch of them. I'm forever writing down my thoughts. And it's usually a thought, because if it lingers too long, it festers, it gets ugly. And I have to constantly be working against it. Don't entertain what if scenarios. What if I die? What if the cancer comes back? What if, don't do it. If you have a concern that doesn't go away, for example, if you have a pain that doesn't go away, something new pops up, some new symptom shows up, that's not a what if, that's a now. You talk to your doctor, you call your team. But don't sit and marinate in what are the possibilities for my future? Unless it's good stuff. My what if scenario is always, what if I hit the lottery for $121 million? What am I going to do? I write that one down a lot. I switch my what ifs to what if I hit the lottery pretty much every day? Or what if I won a free trip around the world? Who would I take? That kind of thing. But don't entertain negative what ifs. Think, and the last tip I have for survivors, but this actually goes for everybody, but it's really for survivors. Think a happy thought. If you feel bad, switch it around, make it a happy thought, which for me is hitting the lottery, but that might not be your happy thought. Your happy thought might be the day my kid graduates from college, or the day I get married, or the day I buy my dream house, or the day I get my dream car, whatever. But think a happy thought. Think a happy thought, or to have a G3 moment, have a gratitude 3 moment. 3 things you're grateful for in that moment. And I've started posting when I'm having a G3 moment. I've started to post it either on my personal page, or sometimes I post it on this My Fabulous Boobies page. It's a G3 moment. What are you grateful for right now? And people write different things. Like they usually write, I'm grateful for life and love and being happy. I'm grateful for my job. And that's great, because that's what they're grateful for. But you can literally say, I'm grateful that cotton balls was on sale at the Target, and instead of getting 100, I got 300. That's something to be grateful for. I'm grateful for my hair color looking a lot better than it looked a week ago. I am grateful for new mascara. I'm grateful for finding this cute little necklace I bought for my girlfriend who sells paparazzi, because I didn't think I had anything silver. 3 things. Shift your mind. Because God is in everything. He's in the little things. He's in the big things. And it's easy to get down when something traumatic happens. I mean, I shouldn't say it's easy. It's natural. It's natural to be depressed. It's natural to have anxiety. It's natural to grieve. It's natural to be upset. It's natural to be angry. It's natural to be angry with God. It really is. But you have to accept that traumatic things happen to everybody. They're different, but they happen. And some people go through why me with cancer. I didn't go through why me until like a couple of years ago, but during my diagnosis and my treatment period, I didn't have why me moments. I kept thinking, why not me? I'm like anybody else. Millions of people are diagnosed with cancer every year. Millions of people are living with cancer every year around the world. So why not me? I didn't have that thought then. Now, later in life, when the compounding of dealing with survivorship issues, dealing with life not feeling fair, dealing with I lost my job, dealing with I'm never going to have a baby, dealing with I don't know if I'm going to date, dealing with all kinds of stuff like that can get me to the why me. Why did I have to go through this? Why was this my trauma? I don't know, but it was. G3 moment. What am I happy for? A green Sharpie that doesn't bleed. Motrin to help a headache. Snowball. This is my microphone. 3 things. I'm happy. I'm safe. I can talk to people on the computer. Find some joy. Find something to be happy about. That's it. I just wanted to talk about grief, because grief comes with cancer diagnosis, and people don't often think of it that way. And stress, the stress of trying to hide it or pretend like it's not as bad as it is, that's real. It's not normal, but it's real. And it's not forever, but it's real. So that's it. I need a donut. I went to Krispy Kreme yesterday and I got some donuts. So I'm going to go have a donut. Thank you for joining me. Excuse my foolishness. I hope I was helpful. If you have questions, you can always inbox me either on my Fabulous Boobies page, or if you're my personal friend on my personal page, I always answer. May not answer immediately, but I always answer. And that's it. I'm going to link to Picking Up the Pieces, and I'm going to link to my ebook, after I get off of here. And this is going to stay up. I'm going to let it rock. So, bye. Thank you.